female or male. Sex determined by two sex chromosomes, sex, X. Testes. Normal testosterone. No receptor. Insensitive to testosterone. Primary sex organs. Secondary sex organs. Secondary sex characteristics. The primary sex organs, gonads, are those that produce gametes, sperm and eggs. Secondary sex organs. Secondary sex characteristics. Features not essential for reproduction but attract the sexes to each other. The male reproductive system, testes, produce sperm cells developed from germ cells in seminiferous tubule, secret testosterone by interstitial, Leydig, cells. Sperm. Scrotum protect testes and maintain the temperature of the testes 2 degrees lower than body temp. Epididymis, the storage site of sperm cells. It absorbs about 90% of the fluid secreted by the testis. Sperm remain stored here for 40-60 days and are absorbed if not ejaculated prior to that time. The fluid expelled during orgasm. Major constituents of semen: sperm, fructose, clotting and anticoagulant factors, prostaglandins, spermine. Produce ATP for sperm motility. Sperm cells from epididymis are present at a count of 120 million sperm per milliliter. Sperm count decreased from 113 million sperm per milliliter in 1940 to 66 million sperm per milliliter in 1990. Semen volume dropped by 19%. Less than 20-25 million ml equals infertility, sterility. Fructose. Produced by the seminal vesicles. Provides a source of energy for the sperm. Clotting and anticoagulant factors. Produced by seminal vesicles and prostate. Semen clots like blood. About 15-30 minutes later, anticoagulant factors dissolve the clot. Prostaglandins. Produced by the prostate and seminal vesicles. Stimulate peristaltic contractions of the female reproductive tract that may help draw semen into the uterus. 0901. Spermine is a base that reduces acidity of the female vagina, increasing the survival rate of sperm. Male sexual response: erection of the penis, allowing it to penetrate the female vagina. Ejaculation, expelling semen into the vagina. 0901. Ejaculation initiated by sympathetic nerve impulses. The ducts and accessory glands contract, emptying their contents into the urethra. The urethral sphincters constrict. The bulbus pungisus muscles of the penis contract rapidly and rhythmically, propelling semen from the urethra. Fate of sperm cells: capacitated, test tube. Viable for 2 days, egg, 12 to 24 hours. Only 100 reach the destination. Only 1 sperm fertilizes the egg. Refractory period: a period following ejaculation and lasting anywhere from 10 minutes to a few hours. Impossible to attain another erection and orgasm. The female reproductive system. 1. Produce oocyte, oogenesis, ovary. Most primary oocytes undergo a process of degeneration called atresia. Only 2 million remain at the time of birth, and by puberty, only 400,000 remain. Only 1 oocyte is ovulated each 28-day cycle. 1. Produce oocyte, oogenesis. 2. Produce hormone estrogens, progesterone, anhybin, and a small amount of androgen. The cilia beat toward the uterus. One day, the uterus harbors the embryo, provides nutrients, expels the fetus at the end of its development. Vagina. Stratified squamous epithelium. Bacteria ferment glycogen to lactic acid, resulting in a low vaginal pH. Accessory glands. Opening into the vestibule or lower vagina. Keep the vagina moist and provide most of the lubrication for intercourse. Female sexual cycle. Menopause. The cessation of menstruation, 45 to 55 years. Osteoporosis, menopause and lifespan. Fewer remaining follicles and less responsive to gonadotropins. Less estrogen and progesterone. The uterus, vagina, and breasts atrophy. Oogenesis and the sexual cycle. A. Oogenesis 1. Egg production is called oogenesis, which is a distinctly cyclic event. 2. Most primary oocytes undergo a process of degeneration called atresia. Only 2 million remain at the time of birth, and by puberty, only 400,000 remain. 3. Beginning in adolescence, FSH stimulates the primary oocytes to complete meiosis I, which yields 2 haploid daughter cells of unequal size. One will become the egg with large amounts of cytoplasm. The other, a polar body, will serve only as a dumping ground for the extra set of chromosomes. The secondary oocyte proceeds as far as metaphase 2 and then arrests until ovulation. If it is fertilized, it completes meiosis II and produces a second polar body. The large remaining egg unites its chromosomes with those of the sperm and produces a zygote. B. The sexual cycle, a 28-day cycle of sequential changes caused by shifting patterns of hormone secretion. Starts at the first day of menstruation. Changes in the ovaries constitute the ovarian cycle, which is subdivided into 3 phases, the follicular phase, ovulation, and luteal phase. The parallel changes in the uterus are called the menstrual or uterine cycle, which is subdivided into 3 phases, menstruation, proliferative phase, and secretory phase. Ovarian cycle 1, the follicular phase. Day 114. The follicular phase extends from the beginning of menstruation until ovulation. It averages 14 days, but is also the most variable portion of the cycle. FSH causes follicular cells around the oocyte to develop into granulosa cells, and the follicle is now a primary follicle. Granulosa cells secrete an estrogen-rich follicular fluid, which pools to form the antrum. The follicle is now called the secondary follicle. One follicle rapidly outpaces the others and becomes the dominant follicle. 2. Ovulation. Day 14. Ovulation is triggered by a sudden burst-like release of LH, luteining hormone, secretion from pituitary when estrogen rises beyond a critical concentration. The LH surge is the consequence of an exceptional positive feedback of estrogen on hypothalamus-pituitary axis. Only the oocyte in the dominant follicle is released in each ovarian cycle. Oocytes in other follicles degenerate. 3. Luteal phase, day 15-28. When the follicle expels the oocyte, it collapses and bleeds into the antrum. Under the influence of LH, this structure now develops into a glandular corpus luteum that secretes progesterone and some estrogen. Corpus luteum also secretes inhibin at this point, which suppresses FSH and further ovulations. In the absence of pregnancy, the corpus luteum begins to degenerate in about 10 days because rising progesterone output inhibits further release of FSH and LH. Without LH, the corpus luteum begins to shrink. If pregnancy occurs, the corpus luteum continues to secrete progesterone and estrogen for about 3 months under the stimulation of LH-like hormone released by the developing embryo. The secretion by corpus luteum does not stop until the placenta is ready to take over its hormone-producing duties. Menstrual, uterine, cycle 1, menstruation, day 15, the super 2, 3, B. The spiral C. The